This is Chapter 3, Section 7 notes. We're going to be talking about absolute values today. An absolute value is the distance from 0 on a number line. So it can go positive, it can go negative. It's just the distance from 0. So for example, we have the absolute value of 3, which is just 3. The absolute value of negative 4 is 4, because it's going to be 4 marks to 0. If I don't know what this number is, but it equals a positive number, that means inside this absolute value, this could be 2 or negative 2. They're both 2 tick marks away from 0 on a number line. Okay, 2 is 2 to the right, negative 2 is 2 to the left. Okay, if I have something like x in the absolute value is equal to a negative 6, this is not possible. I can't have negative distances, okay? If I talk about the distance to my house, I can't say it's negative 6 miles. That does not make any sense. So in absolute values, you cannot have this absolute value equal a negative number, okay? Inside the absolute value, you can have negatives. It's just not on the outside when you have your equals. Okay, so solving an absolute value. This says, what are the solutions of the absolute value of x plus 2 equals 9? And then we're going to graph the solutions. So I have to get the absolute value sign by itself first. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract 2 from both sides. So then I get the absolute value of x equals 7. Thankfully, this is a positive number, okay, which means I can solve. So I split it into 2 parts. One where I have a positive number and one where I have a negative number. So x could equal 7 or x could equal negative 7. They're both 7 away from 0 on a number line. Now to graph that and to check it out, I made this number line. Okay, negative 7's here, positive 7's here. So I put just closed dots there and there because they're equal to. Now I'm not going to have any arrows. Okay, so these are just 2 answers, negative 7 and 7. Okay, now I'm going to count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're both 7 markings or 7 numbers away from the 0. Again, the negative 7's to the left, the positive 7 is just 7 to the right. But they're both a distance of 7 from that 0. Okay. So solving an absolute value equation. So this is a story problem, but thankfully it does give you a lot of information. It says starting 100 feet away, your friend skates towards you and then passes you by. She skates at a constant speed of 20 feet per second. Her distance d from you after t seconds is given by d equals the absolute value of 100 minus 20t. At what times is she 40 feet from you? So she's going to be 40 feet from you when she's in front of you, and then she's going to be 40 feet from you after she passes you, and she'll be behind you. Okay, so to set this up, I'm going to replace this d, this distance, with 40 feet. So I get 40 equals the absolute value of 100 minus 2t. Now, because I already have the absolute value sign set out, the next step is to break this into 2 equations. One where it actually set equal to negative 40, because that's still 40 places away from 0, and one that's set equal to positive 40, because that's also 40 places away from 0. So then I have negative 40 equals 100 plus 2t, and positive 40 equals 100 plus 2t. So that splitting just gets rid of the absolute value, which is really nice. So my next step is to subtract 100. So I'm going to subtract 100 here. It'll cross out. Subtract 100 from negative 40. And then I'll have negative 140 equals 2t. Divide by 2. So I get negative 70 equals t. Now I have 40 equals 100 minus 2t. I'm going to subtract 100 from both sides. And I get negative 60 equals negative 2t. So now I'm going to divide by -2 and get 30. Oops, I forgot that this was a -2 over here. So this should be a positive 70. So after 60 seconds, or after 30 seconds, she'll be 40 feet away from you. And then after 70 seconds, she'll be 40 feet away from you. In between those 2 seconds, so in between 30 seconds and 70 seconds, she'll pass you. So she'll actually skate right by you, okay? So I'd assume 30 seconds is when she's in front of you, and 70 seconds would be when she's behind you by 40 feet. Okay, number 3, solving an absolute value equation with no solution. So we have 3 and then absolute value sign 2z plus 9 plus 12 equals 10. Now 3 on the outside here, these are not like parentheses, so I can't distribute it. So this is actually 3 times, and that might help to get your mind into the setting that in order to undo the 3, you're going to have to divide it at some point. So first step though is to subtract 12 from both sides. So I'll give you 3, and then in parentheses, 2z plus 9 equals -2. Divide by 3, because I cannot distribute in, so I have to divide by 3 to get rid of the 3. So I get the absolute value of 2z plus 9 equals -3. Now what's the problem here? I have an absolute value that equals a negative number. That is not possible. An absolute value cannot equal a negative number. So therefore, this would be no solution. So whenever you have that absolute value sign completely by itself and equals a negative number, that's not possible. So you'd put no solution. So